Hello there, you're listening to the Earful Tower podcast. My name is Oliver G, and I didn't think I'd be doing this. I didn't think I'd be doing it, but the people have spoken. Last week's episode about your first trip to Paris, what you should do on your first trip to Paris, by my standards, went viral. A lot of people were sharing it, commenting on it, and listening to the episode, and it made me think, why not do the follow-up podcast episode, what to do on your second trip to Paris. Deep down, I believe that your experiences in Paris, the real Paris, begins on the second trip. Personally and honestly, I'm not hugely interested in people's first trip to Paris because I want them to sort of get it out of the way. I want them to line up, climb the Eiffel Tower, do those kind of things and get it out of the way so that when you come back, you're not burdened by these sort of enormous things that just take up so much time, and you can start getting into this second layer of this massive Paris onion. Also, honestly, I think it gets more and more interesting the more layers that you get into, but this second one is a good one to dive into for this episode. I'll be continuing on the blog with the articles about the third, fourth, fifth, and so on, as long as you're interested. But I have no intention of continuing on the podcast after this one. But it's a double-edged sword, this one. I also wanted to do this podcast because I figured I have the perfect guest to introduce to you guys. It's Paris K. And yes, her name is Paris. Yes, her last name's K, which is also a letter, much like me, G. And she's also from Australia, and she's been working with the Earful Tower behind the scenes for a little while, including working as a tour guide. So she knows this city really well. She helped put together these lists, and she's been, as I said, helping behind the scenes. So I want to introduce you to her as we talk over this list together. Here's some music from Press Maxon to bring us in. Press and I, by the way, are working behind the scenes on that CD for Patreon members. We're in the final stages. It's all mastered and ready. It's just a question of how to get it out to everybody. More on that really soon. But first, music from Press Maxon. Red Scooter is the name of the song. I'll be back at the end with a little bit more, but let's get into this week's episode of the Earful Tower. Paris K, how you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Is that an Australian accent?
That is.
Where are you from?
I'm from Perth.
Perth? Living in Paris?
Yeah, exactly.
And I say that because I'm also from Perth. We probably crossed paths once before.
Possibly.
Who knows? I want to ask, your name is Paris, and people might think, like, living in Paris, so that's kind of unusual. Do you get that a lot?
Particularly from French people, yes.
How do they pronounce your name?
Paris, but then I correct them. It's Paris, otherwise too confusing.
And how do, like, other Anglophone people pronounce your name?
Just Paris.
Okay, so French people say Paris,
yeah.
English people say Paris. Okay, and we're in the city of Paris. This is easy. And it's good that your name is Paris and that you live in Paris and that you're somewhat of an expert, because we're going to be talking about things that people should do on their second trip. Mm-hmm. A list that you and I put together. We put the list together.
Yes.
You can say that, right?
Yeah.
And I want to talk first, before we get into about the first list, which was the things people need to do on their first trip. And you were helping monitor all the sort of feedback from it. Generally, was the feedback positive or was it negative?
Generally positive, but a lot of people did notice that there was something missing.
There was something obvious missing, wasn't there?
Very obvious.
What was it?
We forgot Montmartre.
Did we forget, though?
We left it as something for people to come back to.
Yeah. I think when I was I figured we needed a district, and I was like, it has to be Marais or Montmartre, and I kind of feel that Montmartre, because it's a little bit further away, that it's like, you can save it for the second trip, but I think people people weren't upset, were they?
Some people were a little upset about it.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's just a good reason to come back, is so that you can go and see Montmartre. But I figured that you and I could discuss this a little bit, not least because you've been doing a bunch of tours of Montmartre. I thought it'd be really cool to talk just straight up about how people should visit this part of town. Like, obviously, from my perspective, the best thing people can do is book an Eiffel Tower walking tour. but also I think it's easy to visit it by yourself. Now you do these tours, but do you actually like Montmartre, or is it just a job?
No, I love Montmartre. I love that it has this great ambience, very lively, tons of things to see, and it's easy to walk if you don't take the steps.
And it is possible. Our tour doesn't take any steps.
Yes.
I think in the cemetery it does happen. I always realize like there are a few steps in the cemetery, but more or less you can wind your way up the hill with avoiding all the steps. But are there places that you particularly like personally like in Montmartre, and what are they?
Yeah, I'd say my favorite and definitely a good starting point is like Rue des Abbesses, because there's lots of bistros, restaurants, bakeries, so you can get everything that you need there, and there's just so much to see in one place. So it's kind of like a culture rush.
Yeah, I've always said, did you like Rue des Abbesses before I started banging on about it?
I had seen it once and I was like, it looks nice.
Yeah.
But I hadn't delved into the life there.
And it's one of those like I for a long time said it was my favorite street in Paris, and then I moved to the 7th, and now I say Rue Claire, which irritates a lot of people, I think, because Rue Claire seems to be so touristy, although you used to live around here.
Yeah, I used to.
Rue Claire?
I'm not a big fan of Rue Claire.
Why not?
I just don't think it's as exciting as Montmartre.
I wonder if that's because you're younger. Like, I wonder, like, I have no idea. Because when I lived there, I was younger when I was in Montmartre. And that was, like, it's such a vibe there. It's definitely, like, even just Rue des Abbesses is, like, there's cars go through the middle of it, for one thing. Yeah. It's narrower. There's way more bars and way more things happening. And Rue Claire is, like, calmer.
Yeah.
If you're a parent, like I am, maybe it's, like, less likely to get hit by an errant car or something. But to focus on Rue des Abbesses for a second, it's... I agree. It feels like really Parisian.
Yeah.
It feels like there's all the things that Paris is famous for. Terrace seating, like you said, the boulangeries and stuff. And have you noticed, I mean, all the bakeries are all award winning as well.
Yeah.
What's all that about?
It's that big baking competition, basically. And the winner gets to give all the bread to the Élysée Palace. So it's what's the word? Everyone wants to win.
Yeah. I always think it's funny how up there's like one place had the 3rd best baguette in 2014, and you go an extra 100 meters and it's like the 2nd best baguette, but 2013, and you're like, which is the best baguette? What else on your walks, on the Earful walks? Are there other things? Are there other things that people like to see?
I'd say our biggest hit is the rooftop on the terrace bar.
Yeah.
That gives you like one of the best rooftop views of Paris, and you can kind of situate yourself and point out kind of what you're looking at, where you are. I recently took Irene White up there.
Irene White, VIP listener?
VIP, and we weren't sure if we could go out because there was this couple that was like intensely making out.
What? Hang on, where? Up at the top?
At the top.
Hang on, what? So, you didn't think you could go out because people were making out up there?
Yeah.
What, like you weren't to give them privacy?
Yeah, because they were the only 2 people there, and they were really, like, latched on. And we were like, do we knock?
Hang on, where were they? I'm trying to picture it. So you go up the elevator, and then there's the door.
There's the door. That was closed because it's winter, so you have to open it yourself, right? So it's completely, like, secluded off. They're right next to that... what is that? To the railing, looking out, and then they like have their hands on each other's face, and they're like really into it.
And so, so what happened?
Well, I was like, well, this is supposed to be our rooftop view, but they're kind of like having a moment here, and Irene's like, I want my moment. Let me go through.
Good for you, Irene. That's really funny because when you said that, it reminded me of when we were doing the island walk. Mm-hmm. So for behind the scenes here, Paris and I and Charlotte were mapping out the walk across the 2 islands. And there's a bit, I'm giving away all the trade secrets here, but if you're on the far eastern side of the Ile Saint-Louis, you can go down some steps and walk out to the very corner. Everybody should go there. It's so beautiful. But then you can keep walking around the island. And we were also put off because there was people making out down there as well. Yeah. Who would have thought that walks around Paris could be interrupted by this, and still giving away trade secrets, just to stress for you guys who don't want to do a walking tour but want to see things. The Terrace Hotel, Terrass. It's not on Rue des Abbesses, but it's on the extension of that street right at the end. And you need to have a little bit of moxie and gumption to get up there, because like you have to fake that you're like a hotel guest or something, and then you have to sort of push through a door where people might be smooching just outside. But it's worth going up there for the view. Maybe not so much for a drink. Have you seen the prices up there?
Yeah, I wouldn't go for a coffee. I can guarantee that it will be bad.
As an Australian, is that like, what makes you say that? You're right, but why would you say that?
Because it's your classic Parisian coffee, which is not the most amazing thing in my personal opinion.
What about where are the good places for coffee in Montmartre? Spill the beans.
In Montmartre, you should go to the Beans on Fire.
Yep.
Lovely people. They also all speak English as well. So, and they have a flat white, which is a rare find.
That's what. Do you know what I do to find good coffee shops? Sometimes I search the word flat white on Google and the area, and anyone that's left like a review or they've put their menu up. And not that I necessarily want a flat white, but if someone offers that, I get this.
It's a good sign. Yeah.
Okay, so Montmartre, if we walk all the way up to the top, you go through the Artist Square, which I saw a lot of comments. People were like, you have to go to the Artist Square. I don't know about the Artist Square. Like, I feel I'm not convinced about it, you know? Like, we went up there as part of the countdown season, and Lena and I got our portrait done up there. But it felt I felt like it's kind of a self-conscious thing up there, sitting there getting your picture done. You really will feel like a tourist if you do that. But it seems like a lot of people are buying the artwork up there. It must be some kind of awesome business for them. Yeah. But I got to say, it's a very touristy spot. Personally, I think that Artist Square, the Place du Théâtre, I think it's a bit like get in there and get out, and then walk past that beautiful old church, one of the oldest churches in Paris, where the mayor of Montmartre showed me into that cemetery, the Cimetière du Calvaire, I think that's what it's called. So. And then Sacré-Cœur, the famous Sacré-Cœur. Now, the walking tour that we do, we drop people there because there's sometimes a line to get in. But have you been inside?
I've been inside, but I haven't gone to the top.
I've been to the top. If you've got good knees and you've got patience, it's a lot of steps. And, like, it's probably the best view in Paris, I think, but it's not like it's also the hardest to achieve. It's like, imagine walking up the Eiffel Tower. Oh, that reminds me. I put in the last week's episode, walk to the top of the Eiffel Tower. I said climb the Eiffel Tower. I just mean take the elevator. Everybody out there, you don't need to necessarily climb the steps to get there. But that brings us to the end of Montmartre. Paris, let's go through the rest of this list.
Okay.
And we can tell people why they should go to these places. And you and I both have some funny stories from a lot of them. Musée d'Orsay, for example, you have the rare story of getting in there for free, even to the bits that cost. Is that what it happened?
Yes. So
the Munch exhibition, is that what you got to see?
Yeah, exactly, which was recently, and I got to go in because I was making a book delivery for
the children's books.
The children's books.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. And I got to go through a secret entrance on the side.
Where was the secret entrance? Is it not the Riverside, basically?
Not Riverside, the other side.
Yeah.
And then I had to wait for someone to give me a special badge to let me in.
You got a badge as well?
I did get a badge. I still have it, so.
Does that get you in again?
I should try.
Yeah. So when you and the reason I'm asking this for the listeners at home is I've never done this before. I did it a whole different way, but you got a more fun way by the sounds of it. So they give you this badge, they let you in, you're carrying a box of books. And do they just take that off you, or do they take you into the bookshop, or what?
They took me into the bookshop, and then they took the books, and then the lady was like, you can either get out, or you can go and check out the exhibitions for however long you want. And I was like, absolutely.
Yes.
So,
what was it like, the Munch exhibition?
It was really cool. I had never seen any of his other works than the Scream.
The Scream, yeah.
So, no, I liked it.
Uh-huh. And the museum itself, I think a lot of the commenters said that we should have put the Musée d'Orsay in the first list. I disagree. I think it should be the Louvre on your first trip. The d'Orsay is way more manageable, and it's a different. I don't know. It's not as. I feel like it's not as touristy as the Louvre. The Louvre is like you're going to be fighting the crowds. Whereas in Musée d'Orsay, if you time it right, you can have it sort of all to yourself. And I think that's really lovely.
Yeah. If you go in the evening session,
Thursday
that's the
evenings,
best.
I think. Yeah. And I delivered books. I think it was, I don't know if it was even after you did that delivery, but I went on the scooter and they let me down into the belly of the Musée d'Orsay, which was one of the coolest things. It probably doesn't sound cool, and there's probably truck drivers doing it every day, but I was just thinking, like, all the art pieces that get delivered down that same ramp, and there's me on the little red scooter, like, beep, beep, let me in with 30 children's books. Anyway, Musée d'Orsay is the second thing. We're going to whip through this list. Let's do this one quickly. Versailles, famous for a reason. I didn't put it on the first list because I think your first trip to Paris, if you include Versailles, you're way too ambitious. Because this is, like, at the very least, it's a day trip.
Yeah.
Like, getting out there, you got so much to see. There's so many people. You'll be exhausted from it. If you are going to go to Versailles, my tip is just do everything. Just treat it like a whole day away. And, like, don't think, I'm going to come back and go out for dinner and cocktails, whatever. It's going to kill you almost. So spend a day doing it. And also, that's why I didn't put it on the first list. But also, I've done so much stuff for anyone thinking about Versailles. We'll link it on the blog post as well, but I've been out there. I must have been there 10 times doing stories, so there's stuff to research there. My favorite bit, probably the gardens. I feel like there are other really beautiful chateaus like Vaux-le-Vicomte. There's some buildings in Paris that are sensational, like Hôtel de la Marine, or the Musée Carnavalet that just has all the archives in the Marais.
Yeah.
Where there's some just rooms in Paris that are free to go in and right there in the center of the town that will blow your mind. So get Versailles out of the way, and same for number 4, Sainte-Chapelle, the stained glass church. Always a line to get in. Skip the queue if you have to. Pay extra for a ticket. Quick history lesson. It was built with the intention of housing the Crown of Thorns, Christ's Crown of Thorns, which later went to Notre Dame.
Yes, and then was removed after the fire.
Because it didn't burn, if I remember correctly.
No, I saw it in the film that they put a fake out for people to see, and the real one was like downstairs, hidden away somewhere. So
I'm looking forward to Notre Dame reopening.
2024,
is that what they're saying?
I think so, in time for the Olympics.
Good. Okay, a few more here. Jardin de Tuileries. What a beautiful park.
Gorgeous.
I don't think you can really go wrong with where to walk there. It's pretty straightforward, and you'll see where the crowds are. But if you really want to win some Earful Tower points, find the goats that some people don't believe exist. Have you seen them?
No, and I have looked, and
Do you believe they exist?
No, I don't believe you.
When you go down the steps from the Louvre, there's like these little, I don't know what you call it. It's like a
trench.
Yeah, like a trench.
Kind of,
it's like a trench.
Yeah.
I presume that they can't get the lawnmower down those trenches, and so they just got like 4 goats. And you see them they can't be there all the time because there's not that much mowing to do.
Possibly.
Logic. Where do they live otherwise? I don't know. Under the Louvre? Could be a children's book. Also, if you're there at the right time of year, you can go on that big Ferris wheel, which is really awesome, and it gives you good views of Paris. The next one is one of the cultural ones, and it's everybody. You can do this on your first trip, but if you're on your second trip, seek it out. Buy some cheese. I was in a cheese shop about half an hour ago. In fact, I was in the cheese shop from the guys at the Griffon cheese shop where they sold me the cheese. I keep saying cheese. For the basketball coach, Will, that we had the cheese massacre. And they were thrilled that their story went so big because on Instagram, the video of them cutting up the Comté has 30,000 hits.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's what they were like as well.
That's crazy.
They feel like their cheese is famous. So that's got nothing to do with what you guys should do at home. But when you come to Paris, dare. I think if it's your second trip, it's going to be kind of tricky to do it because it feels very French and very foreign. But you got to dare to go in and get them to cut you some cheese and eat it at a picnic or something. Did you find that when you moved to Paris that was kind of difficult to do?
I'm still yet to go to a cheese store
Really?
and ask. Yeah.
It took me years, actually. You read my book, didn't you?
Yeah.
So you already know that I struggled for years to go into the cheese shops. And I don't know what the secret is. And I don't know I think it's just you have to overcome.
Trying. Yeah.
So it's kind of rough of us to ask people who are here for their second visit. But really, just do it in English if you have to. That makes it easier. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But just go in and just be like, hey, I would just like some Comté for a picnic. And I don't know why it's so overwhelming, but it really is. You know? And then get the Comté, get it with if I could choose, go to a bakery, get a Tradition, because you're already well practiced in getting a croissant from your first visit.
Yep.
And then go and sit in a park somewhere, maybe the Tuileries, put it together. You probably need to get a knife. This is getting hot. You know, though, you can ask them in the cheese shop to cut it up for you.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, you haven't been to one. I think the safest thing is just get a Comté. It's the most Comte, Comté, and one of the most famous ones. And if you're in the 7th arrondissement, go to the Fromagerie Griffon, which is the picture that we've put on the website, the Earfultower.com. You know, the other thing you can do, I was also in a fruit shop just now, which is another one of my old nemesi. Because once on Rue Montague in the 2nd, I paid like 19 euros for strawberries. And then on Rue Claire, I spent 10 euros on a mango once. I feel like they were ripping me off.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but I think I was just buying out of season all the time, you know?
Oh, might be.
Yeah, so today in the fruit and veg shop, I said to the guy, I was like, what fruits are good right now? I just said it. I said, c'est quoi les fruits qui sont bons maintenant? And he was like, oh, it's the clementines. And I was like, I'll have 6 of them. How about that?
Very true.
Do you ever do that?
No. I go to the market, the local market, and I'll only put out like what's fresh, so I don't have to ask that question.
Okay, well, your homework then is to do what the listeners are going to do. Go into a cheese shop. In fact, you have to do this. You have to go into a cheese shop and buy some cheese and take a photo.
Okay.
Not from a supermarket, Paris. Next on the list is La Durée. This is an obvious one. Famous.
Yep.
Do you like it?
I'm a big fan. I love La Durée. There's nothing like this in Australia, I would say.
That's true. Do you get it as gifts sometimes?
Sometimes, from really nice people.
I meant, do you give it as a gift sometimes?
Oh, give it as a gift.
Well, we did give it as a gift to you for Christmas, but do you gift it as well? Because I find that it makes a really nice gift when you go back to Australia or whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty much the only gift I will 100% bring when I go back.
And you can get it if you're on a budget, they sell them I think you can get one. I think you can get a packet of one.
Possibly.
They make little boxes
Maybe
of it.
only in their cafe you can get one with a hot chocolate, and then you get a little box of 6. I think is the smallest.
And they're often at the airports too. La Durée, Laduree. You can also go to their flagship shop on the Champs-Élysées, which featured... Here's a story from before your time. Featured... we did an episode about the 8th arrondissement, and we ended up going into La Durée, and I interviewed a waiter there or something. New York Times wrote up that story, mentioned La Durée on the Champs-Élysées. So I always have a special place in my heart for La Durée, and everybody else should too. We got 3 more things to get through. Number 8 is one of my favorites, Bouquiniste by the Seine. The booksellers along the Seine. If you've never been... Well, what am I talking about? Everyone here has been at least once, otherwise they shouldn't be listening to this episode. But you remember there's green they look like boxes along the Seine, and inside them are books, and people sometimes say that the Seine is, what do they say? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No idea.
There's a quote that's something like, it's the longest bookshelf in the world or something like that. The Seine,
that makes sense.
Does it make sense? There's something like it, yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you're new to Paris, it can be intimidating to actually go and buy something or negotiate a price, if they do that even. But if you really want an easy one, go and buy a postcard. They're probably €1. You can get a little black and white one from 100 years ago. I've sent a few of them out to some helpers and listeners for the Eiffel Tower. But just browse, go and look, get a book, get a French book that you might not even be able to understand. Do you ever shop in those shops?
Once for some old photos. I like the old photos.
Not the postcards? What do you mean?
They don't have any writing on the back.
What did you get?
I got an old family photo. I don't know.
What, some other family?
Yeah.
Just a photo of some family?
Yeah.
What did you do with it?
I planned to frame it, but I just moved apartments. So
what does it look like, the photo? I'm trying to imagine.
I don't know, there's 2 kids, mum and dad.
From 100 years ago?
I hope so.
Wow. Isn't that weird to think that in 100 years someone might buy a photo of you and just frame it like a stranger?
I hope so.
It's a good way to be remembered.
Exactly.
Take photos of yourself and give it to the guys on the Seine and see if they'll sell it.
Maybe.
Speaking of, in 2019, I did an interview with one of the bouquinistes, Sydney. I'm still in touch with her. She messaged me at New Year's. And she doesn't have that shop anymore if you're hoping to go and find it, anyone. In fact, you go past them on the Marais tour?
Yes, we do, right at the beginning.
Do you go up close to them, or you stand on the other side of the
We
road?
kind of watch on the other side, and then we make our way to Hotel de Sens.
How old is that?
500 years old.
Look at that. We on these tours, neither me or Paris or Charlotte, none of us are like extremely fascinated in the dead kings and the deep history. And what we're all three of us are more interested in is like the stories and the secrets and stuff like that. But at the same time, we realize a lot of people want to know the age of buildings. Do you get that a lot on the tours?
Yeah.
I used to get it all the time. I used to get it all the time. Is that people love hearing the stories and seeing the sites and so on, but often they just point to everything and go, how old is that? And at first I go, I don't know. And sometimes
it's written above,
sometimes it's written. But I think a lot of people don't realize the buildings in Paris can be from like 10 years old to like Notre Dame is 1,000 years old, and no tour guide knows all those answers, except there are some recurring ones like the Hotel de Sens that people always ask. So we all learned all of those ones. Good memory though. What was it, 500?
500.
Do we have to fact check that? Or
No, I'm confident.
Okay, cool. Two more things. Printemps, the department store. We felt we should recommend a shopping center, and I think this one, Printemps, won out because it's got a beautiful dome ceiling on the inside, but Lafayette next door is also really good. Honestly, if you're going to go shopping, you'll probably go to both. Can I do a fun extra fact?
Go for it.
Across the road from Printemps, I believe, is that old Société Générale bank, which is like Gringotts from Harry Potter. Although I went in there really recently. I like to keep fresh on the things I recommend. It's being renovated. The beautiful ceiling's being renovated. So it's not...
Okay.
Don't travel to Paris just to see that bank. You'll be disappointed. Lastly, number 10. There's a bit of a theme in this. We're back to books again. Number 10 is Shakespeare and Company Bookshop. They're friends of this show. I'm not ashamed to say it. They stock all the books we've ever done, and they sometimes even put them in the window. But that's not why I'm recommending them. I'm recommending them because it's a really cool thing to see in Paris. It's an iconic institution, and I think a lot of the comments from that first blog were sort of on our toes because we didn't mention it.
Yeah, it's well loved, I would say.
Was that one of the ones that came up the most besides Montmartre?
Definitely.
You know, people like it, and if you don't know which bookshop I'm talking about, it's been in a lot of movies. It was in that one...
Before Sunset?
Was it Before Sunset? Yeah, the second one in that series, in any case. And then Midnight in Paris, he's in there a little bit, Owen Wilson. And I've heard from staff there that Owen Wilson goes back every time he's in Paris.
Really?
Yeah. He's
Wow.
just yeah, that's what he's saying.
Oh, yeah.
He's going through the bookshelves going, wow. All right, Shakespeare and Company, check that out. You and I have made a lot of deliveries to there.
We have.
Do you have any cool stories sneaking in? Did they let you through the back entrance?
They don't let me through. They just kind of open the door because it's like one of those doors that opens like a farmhouse door.
It is where you make the deliveries.
Yeah, so they just open the window part and I pass the parcel, you know.
Nice. I often, maybe I shouldn't say this on the show, but when there's a big line out the front, if I'm delivering books, I feel like that's enough of a reason to skip the queue and go in if I want to browse.
Through the front?
Either. I think maybe because I've written the books, I get a little bit of extra leeway, but I don't know. I really like the bookshop, and I understand that they're doing, or I know they're doing, but I think they're soon to complete the renovation on the inside. So if you haven't been for a while, the whole bottom floor is going to look really different.
I was there yesterday. It's up. It's done.
It's done. It's ready. Oh, so what does it look like? What have they checked? Could you tell?
No, it kind of looks the same.
Maybe they just tidied it up. I think they were taking away like a part of the ceiling or something like that.
It's a very old building, so it probably needed some sprucing.
Well, they also won't let people take pictures in there, so...
No, unless you're sneaky.
Uh-huh. Did you take any yesterday?
Not yesterday, but...
You've done it in the past? Oh, my goodness. All right, okay, so that is... and my plan, everyone at home... after explaining the things you should do on your second trip to Paris. My plan isn't to do a podcast episode about the next ones that we're doing, but just based on that first one was really well received and that I wanted to introduce Paris a little bit, I figured it would do well for a second episode. So there you have it. That's the list, Paris. What do you think? Think that will cover people's trip?
I think it's a good basis, definitely, for your second trip. Hits all the parts that you should go and see.
Mm-hmm. I got a question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
When we share this on social media, there are going to be people, we'll ask them, What did we miss? What do you think will be the top answer?
I'm going to say another museum, and I'm going to say Musée Rodin. Rodin Museum.
Uh-huh. Okay. I wonder what I would add. I don't know what I would add, but I feel like it would have to be... I think it'll be something like in the Latin Quarter. I think we've kind of overlooked that a little bit. So Musée Rodin, that might inspire people to write those things. But Paris, thank you for being on the show for the first time.
Thank you for having me.
I want to end on something that I just remembered. You shared your bucket lists.
Yes, I did.
Let's go over it real quick.
Okay.
Have you done any of them yet? As in since you shared the bucket list?
No.
Okay.
None of them.
Helium balloon in Paris, good one. Opera Garnier, you want to see a show?
Would love to.
Bouchemont picnic is the easiest one.
Yeah.
You could do that today.
No, I want to wait for like a nice sunny day and
Okay.
get the true experience.
How have you, as a young person in Paris, not been for a picnic in Bouchemont?
I used to live next to Champ de Mars. So if I wanted to do a picnic, I had one closer.
And then Bouchemont is really far away.
Really far
yeah,
away.
Fair enough. Okay. Dans le Noir dining. So that's where it's pitch black and they serve
Pitch
you
black.
food.
And you don't know what you're
Do you
eating.
eat with knife and fork?
I have no idea.
Okay. That'll be a really good one to...
I'm excited.
You can report back on that one.
I will.
And then lastly, walk a part of La Petite Ceinture, the old belt railroad around
Yeah.
the city. Any particular reason you chose that?
I've just seen photos of like the overgrown parts and they look really cool. So it's intrigued me.
It's a little underwhelming, but I will tell you this. I just thought at the Bouchemont, there's a
Yeah.
section of the Petite Ceinture.
So
So
I can
you
do
could not-
two at the same time.
You could do two at once, yeah. And you could stay down there till nighttime and have a picnic, and it would kind of be like Dans le Noir.
And then what about the opera?
Well, you can sing. Can you sing, by the way?
No.
No, don't do it that. Although in a tunnel, the echo could be really nice.
Could be great.
Paris, thank you for being on the show. Good luck with your bucket list.
Thank you.
And thanks for all your help in 2022. And there you have it. That was Paris K and me, Oliver G, talking about your second trip to Paris. You maybe noticed this whole episode has been without sponsorships. I mean, yeah, we talked about the tour a few times. That's kind of a sponsor, isn't it? But so far, I've been priding myself on avoiding sponsors. So if you like the show and you want to see it thrive, consider booking a tour. Otherwise, if you want Paris to be delivered to your inbox regularly, why not become a Patreon supporter? Patreon.com/The Earful Tower, where for $10 a month, you get access to all kinds of extra things, including yesterday. I mean, you missed it now, but yesterday I did this Pick My Paris Brain where I chatted on Zoom to a whole bunch of people around the world, hearing their travel questions and answering them to the best of my ability. Lots of fun. I'll be doing that again. Also, I've got 2, maybe 3 exploration kind of treasure hunts coming up in the next month. So if you're in Paris and if you're a Patreon member, I'd like some people to come along with me on this sort of scavenger hunt, because I'm trying something kind of like when I went finding the traces of the Philippe Auguste wall. I want to do a really similar thing for 2 other things. It sounds like I'm being cryptic, but that's as much as I can say for now. And I'd love to have a little team with me. So if you're interested, keep your eye on Patreon, because that's where the invite will be. But that's enough from me. Thank you for everyone who's listened, keeping this podcast on the charts. Thanks to all who've left reviews, and thanks to all who are members. I'll be back again next week with another episode. Merci beaucoup, and au revoir.